Okay, let's dive into one of the wildest, most baffling stories you've probably ever heard. It's a tale that has everything: a ghost plane, time travel, a mystery that stretches across almost 4 decades. This is the absolutely impossible story of Pan American Flight 914. I mean, that's the real question, isn't it? It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi blockbuster. You've got a commercial airliner that takes off, just vanishes into thin air, and then pops back into existence decades later, with nobody on board having aged a single day. Could something like that, could it possibly be true? To figure that out, we have to go all the way back to the beginning of the legend. It all starts on what seemed like a totally normal day, but it would end with a mystery that people would be talking about for generations. So, according to the story, we're talking about Pan American Flight 914, a Douglas DC-4. The date is July 2nd, 1955. It lifts off from New York, heading to Miami on what should have been a completely routine flight with 66 people on board. Everything totally normal. And then, just nothing. Somewhere out over the Atlantic, the plane just blinked off the radar screens. Gone. No distress call, no sign of wreckage, not even an oil slick. It was as if Flight 914 had been just plucked out of the sky. The search turned up absolutely zero. So for years, that was it, an unsolved tragedy. Families mourned, and the flight just became another sad footnote in aviation history. Decades went by. And then, 37 years later, on May 21st, 1992, air traffic controllers in Caracas, Venezuela, see something very, very weird on their scopes. And this weird something was an old propeller-driven plane that just sort of appeared in the sky. It wasn't even showing up on radar correctly. You have to imagine, here's this relic from a totally different era, circling a modern airport, and the controllers are just completely baffled. An air traffic controller, a guy named Juan de la Corte, supposedly gets on the radio with him. And the pilot's voice comes through, just laced with confusion. He says he's Flight 914, on his way to Miami, and he seems to have absolutely no idea that anything is wrong. And this is where it gets even crazier. The controller has to break the news to the pilot that he is nowhere near Miami. He's in Caracas, Venezuela. That's over 2,200 kilometers off course. But then came the biggest shock of all. The pilot asks what the date is, and the controller tells him it's May 21st, 1992. The plane and everyone on it had been missing for 37 years. Can you just imagine the silence on that radio? Now, the legend says the pilot actually landed for a moment. He looks out, he sees these futuristic jet planes, this world that has completely changed around him, and he just panics. He gets on the radio and yells, "Don't come near us, we're leaving now." He slams the throttles forward, takes off again, and vanishes right back into the clouds. But as he's leaving, a little pocket calendar supposedly falls from the plane and onto the tarmac. The year printed on it? 1955. It's an incredible story, right? I mean, it's the perfect mystery, the kind of thing that could prove time travel is real. Except for one tiny little detail. The entire thing is a complete and total fabrication. It never, ever happened. So if it's not a true story about a time-traveling airplane, then what is it? Well, let's actually look at the facts and see just how quickly this whole brilliant piece of fiction just completely falls apart. Okay, here's the bottom line. There is not a single shred of official evidence to back any of this up. Pan American Airways? No record of a Flight 914 ever existing, let alone disappearing in 55. Official aviation accident reports? Nothing for a flight with that number. And the airport in Caracas? You guessed it, absolutely no log of some mysterious DC-4 landing in 1992. It's a ghost story without a ghost. So, if it's all just made up, where in the world did this story come from? Well, the answer isn't in some dusty, top-secret government file. It's actually in the pages of a very particular American tabloid. Let me introduce you to the culprit, the Weekly World News. This was a tabloid that was famous for its black and white pages, just filled with the most outrageous, sensational, and, yeah, completely fictional stories you could ever imagine. Their entire business model was basically creating hoaxes so wild, you just had to pick it up at the checkout counter. And the story of Flight 914? It first showed up in their pages back in 1985. And just to give you a little taste of their other work, right alongside the Flight 914 story, you would find headlines about starships kidnapping scientists, Elvis being spotted alive and well, and of course their most famous creation, Bat Boy, a half-human, half-bat creature found in a cave. They even ran a follow-up story that Hillary Clinton had adopted him. This was their thing, pure entertainment dressed up to look like news. So the Weekly World News published the story, and then they actually republished it a few more times. But its real life, its explosion into popular culture, that began decades later. You see, the original tabloid only reached so many people, but the internet, well, that gave this old hoax rocket fuel. And the scale of that is just staggering. The original 1985 article probably reached a few 100,000 people, tops. But in 2019, a YouTube channel retold the story as a real unsolved mystery. That one video, it's been viewed over 19 million times. It works so well because it taps into our love for a good puzzle, that little thrill that maybe there are secrets out there the officials aren't telling us. That's the power of the internet. It can take an old fiction, strip it of all its silly context, and give it a brand new life. So at the end of the day, the story of Flight 914 isn't really about a time-traveling plane. It's about the power of a really good story and how easily fiction can start to feel like fact in our digital world. It's just a perfect reminder that sometimes the most incredible stories, well, they require the most critical thinking. So the real question it leaves us with is, what true story will you question next?